Welcome to San Joaquin Spotlight, a public affairs program featuring conversations about life in the central San Joaquin Valley. This program is brought to you in partnership between KFSR 90.7 FM and CMAC Fresno. I'm your host, Sevag Tateosian. Today, we're going to be talking about films and films in Fresno and the Film Commission with Ray Arthur, Film Commissioner. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate the opportunity.
Ray, how did you get involved in the Film Commission? Because
Well, I had been in radio for 21 years, and I was running a couple radio stations in a small town over by Death Valley, Ridgecrest. And the owner of the station sold the stations to an owner-operator, and he didn't need a manager. So at approximately the same time, the city was creating a convention and visitors bureau. So I applied for the job, and because I was a big cheerleader, I was on the Chamber of Commerce and everything you'd expect, somebody in radio to be doing. And they said, so we want you to spend half your time with tourism and half your time with conventions. And when you have a few minutes, look into this film thing, because it looks like there might be some money there.
But not in Fresno yet.
No, this is in Ridgecrest, California. And it was about 6 months later, we were spending 70% of our time and resources in film, 30% in tourism, and nothing in conventions, because even though Ridgecrest was a city of 30,000, we were promoting and marketing and facilitating parts of 4 counties that geographically was 10,000 square miles. And there were some unique desert locations that you couldn't find anyplace else. So we got a lot of car commercials, a lot of independent films, every once in a while a big film like Planet of the Apes in 2001. So I became very successful, partly because I'm a pretty good salesman, but mostly because I was sitting next to dry lake beds and ghost towns and pinnacles and things that nobody could find anyplace else. And when so I was there for 15 years, and when the Fresno Film Commission position became available and was posted, I saw it, and I said to my wife, here we are, and you haven't had a big film for 3 or 4 years, and we have 3 beautiful daughters, but they're all grown and gone. It's you and me and the dog. And, this looks like it really would be interesting. So she said, apply for the job. If they make you an offer, we'll talk. And they did, and it was more money, and it was an opportunity for retirement after 20 years in radio and 15 years for a nonprofit. I could actually have a retirement in front of me, and it was just film, so there was no tourism, which was even better. So I accepted the position, and we had a great time. For 3 years, we hit the ground running, and as you and I were discussing prior to going on, we averaged about $700,000 in disposable income back into the community for the first 3 years of the Film Commission. And unfortunately, the economy cratered nationally, statewide, as well as locally. And when Mayor Swearingen had to make a very, very tough decision to eliminate some jobs, the funding for the Film Commission was unfortunately included in that. But we were able to transfer the Film Commission to a local nonprofit, Creative Fresno, and it was pretty easy because I was on the board of directors. So it was about a it was about a 2-minute discussion at the board meeting. But my thought was, why dissolve this when it's been so successful, and at the same time have a film commissioner sitting at home collecting unemployment when we could move it to a nonprofit. Even though there's no funding, we could continue to market as best we can. And so that's what we did. It continues now in the 4th or 5th year. And I was lucky enough to be offered another position with the city shortly after the transition occurred. So I'm now have been working with the Department of Public Utilities for the last 4 years. So very lucky to be in that position and be able to continue with the Film Commission and continue to do the permitting and the facilitating, obviously on a smaller basis without a marketing budget, but still, you know, we make those connections and we get those occasional out-of-town film shoots in. We've got one coming in next month. Occasionally we get a reality show. So it's been very beneficial, and it's fun for me. It's like, kind of like, you know, points to heaven. This is the good deed that I can do back to the city to say thank you, because I'm still around.
You know, do other cities have this aggressive film commission or film commissioner? Because, I mean, there may be people out there who don't realize that there are cities that have invested and communities that have invested in something called a film commissioner.
Yeah, well, there's a two-part answer to that. One is there are about 55, film commissions in the state of California. There are about 250 in the country, and there are over 300 worldwide. Are there that many aggressive film commissions? No, there aren't, because sometimes the film commissioner is used to be the project manager in the Department of Parks and Recreation, and
right.
There are some very proactive, assertive film commissions, and there are some that wait for the phone to ring, and then there are some in smaller towns and counties that really it's the third responsibility of the person at the Chamber of Commerce to say, if anybody calls, yes, I think we have a 2-story barn. Let me check it out, and I'll give you a call back tomorrow. There's a different level of professionalism in film commissions as there is in everything else.
With technology the way it is, and everything moving towards digital media, graphics, and all that stuff, do people go out and film away from the studio?
They do. Do they do it as much as they did in 1992 when I started? No, because of CGI. But there will never not be a need for film commissions and location managers, even if we get to the point where a film company can drive into Fresno and do a 360-degree CGI of 4 different corners and recreate all of downtown, including our spaceship City Hall and Chick Chansey Stadium, and you know it still won't work. There's always going to have to be real locations.
We had a star come into town a couple of years ago, a
We
very
did.
famous star,
We did.
who we're going to show a picture of on the monitor right now. Tell us about how this worked out.
Well, this worked out really in a way to my benefit, and I'll tell you a little side story. But prior to my arriving in Fresno, which is January of 2007, everybody was trying to get the Indiana Jones movie in their jurisdiction. And the location manager, Mike Fantasia, was a friend of mine. So someone who I worked with 2 or 3 times to try and get productions when I was in Ridgecrest, but failed. But we had this working relationship. So we all knew that most of it was going to be, you know, South America or back to Hawaii or something like that. But there were scenes that they could do in California, but we didn't know what they were. So everybody was sending pictures saying, we have this, we have this, we have this. And then the call came out for a 1950s airport. And I immediately sent him pictures of Chandler Airport downtown, and got a call from Mike the next day saying, sending up a location scout, they'll be there, you know, 2 days from now. They fell in love with the airport, and then they went out to, I always get the name of this little town wrong, Dos Palos,
Yes.
where Eagle Field is. And because the Fresno County Film Commission had also been, they needed a very, very small Mexican landing strip. So they location shot Chandler, and then they went out there. And then we got, Mike called me back and he said it looks like they're going to use both of them, but it's going to be second unit. So it's only going to be about 10 people, and it's going to be stand-ins for the actors. And it's fine. We've still got bragging rights. And about a week later, he called me back and he said, Steven saw the pictures. He wants to direct it himself. It's going to be, you know, first unit, and we're going to have a couple of the stars up there. So we were all jazzed, and I wasn't allowed to tell anybody, literally anybody. And it got so ridiculous that Rick Bentley from the Bee would call me every day and say, so I heard that, and I said, I have no comment, I can't confirm or deny. So the day before they were shooting, they actually shot, they came up the day before, Rick Bentley calls me on the phone and he says, I have a picture of Harrison Ford stepping out of his trailer. Do you have any comment? And I said, I can't say anything. So he ran the story that said, Film Commissioner Ray Arthur had no comment. And they got a picture of Harrison Ford. So if I can tell you a little side story.
Sure.
It just tickled me because I had met and worked with Steven Spielberg on the first Jurassic Park, which was filmed completely in Hawaii, except for there's a small segment in the beginning where Sir Richard Attenborough hires the archaeologists who are in the Badlands. Well, it turns out the Badlands were Red Rock Canyon State Park off of Highway 14, and we got that. So we were told we couldn't get down. They were creating the technology, and we'd love to have you down, but we can't. And then the last day they said, Steve would like you to come down for lunch. And so we went down and we met him, and very nice guy, just down-to-earth guy, and talked for about 15 or 20 minutes. He said, we're going to shoot a helicopter scene if you'd like to watch. You know, gee, I don't know. Do I want to watch Steven Spielberg direct a movie? So we watched that, and that was 1992. That was my first year there. And then in 2007, 15 years later, my first year here, they come up to shoot these scenes, and Mike Fennessy calls. He says, all right, anybody that needs to meet Steven, tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, at the end of his scene, he'll come over, get the people lined up. So we did that. And everybody said the same thing. Mr. Spielberg, it's a pleasure to have you in Fresno. Mr. Spielberg, it's a pleasure to have you in Fresno. And I was the last one. He got to me and I said, Steven, it's great to work with you again. And he looked at me like I was insane. He just had no clue, and I didn't expect him to. And I said, we worked together on Jurassic Park when you shot the archaeologist scene at Red Rock Canyon. Oh, the helicopter. What are you doing in Fresno? We had this nice discussion. And so in 2022, I predict I'll be working my third film with Steven Spielberg. Apparently every 15 years, we're going to be working together.
Hopefully in Fresno.
Yeah, hopefully in Fresno. But the good news, bad news about Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is they shot 3 scenes at Chandler Airport. And while they were here, for the 6 days they were here, they generated $280,000 into the community, over $250,000.
So how does that work? I want to stop you right there because a lot of people may not understand the math. When they come, they're coming in a group, correct?
They're coming in a group. And it's kind of a tiered explanation of where the money goes. And the first is lodging. So if I said $280,000, the rule of thumb is 20% is lodging.
Lodging meaning at a
Hotels,
local hotel.
hotels, motels.
And where did they stay when they were here?
I'm not sure. It was either the Radisson or it might have been the Piccadilly, because if I remember correctly, I don't think the Holiday Inn had been renovated at that point. So I would say either the Piccadilly or the Radisson. So basically you've got lodging, then you've got catering, if they use a local caterer. If they don't, then you've got catering food, where obviously they go to the local grocery stores. Then you've got rental of property or equipment. Then you've got hiring of local crew. Then you've got sort of miscellaneous, and if we had 5 hours, I could tell you funny miscellaneous stories about, you know, somebody spending $5 for fishing wire so they could run the camera through a house that went like this on an independent film, that kind of stuff. And then you've got the cast and crew who get paid and spend money while they're here. So then you've got the restaurants, the gift shops, the clothing stores, and things like that.
And let me ask you about another star who showed up here one day
Sure.
at Grizzly Stadium, and we'll show the star on screen now, and that's Billy Crystal. I mean, you know, so these stars are coming to Fresno.
Yes, occasionally.
And so what did he do here?
Well, Billy works, he has a production company, and one of the co-producers in his production company, I'm not going to remember her last name. I apologize, Samantha, if you're looking, but one of his co-producers that works in his company's name is Sam, and they wrote a script that turned into Parental Guidance, and in the script they needed a minor league baseball stadium, and Sam said, I live in Clovis and I graduated from Buchanan High School and we have a beautiful AAA stadium. So they came up and looked at it and they called the Grizzlies first, because there's many different ways that film commissions work. Sometimes we can go out and get the film like Indiana Jones. Sometimes the film comes to us and we have nothing to do with it, like Parental Guidance. So they went to the Grizzlies, and the Grizzlies said, okay, you're going to need a film permit, you need to call Ray. So
That's how you got involved.
That's how I got involved, and we all worked together, and you had mentioned my Facebook page where occasionally there's a picture of a celebrity and me.
Well, occasionally.
But you won't see a celebrity picture of me and Billy Crystal. And the reason is that while we helped to facilitate them coming, the day that they filmed, which will always be burnt into my mind, was Saturday, August 27th, 2011, which was my daughter's wedding in San Diego.
Oh, congratulations on that.
So I was in San Diego with my daughter Shelley on my arm, walking down an aisle while Billy was here at Chichansey.
Do we have a good city for filming? I mean,
we have an excellent city, and I'll tell you why. When I do sort of the dog and pony 20-minute presentations to the Rotary clubs and the Kiwanis and the Lions, I explain a film commission like this. Think of it as a three-legged stool, and the three legs are locations, facilities, and crew. And if all three legs are the same size, congratulations, you're living in Southern California. But any place else, one of those legs is going to be smaller than the other two, or all three of those legs are going to be a different size. In our case, because we're a city of 500,000 people, we have an abundance of facilities. We also have an abundance of locations. Working with Gigi and Christy at the County Film Commission, we in the city of Fresno and Fresno County basically literally have everything but an ocean. We can give you snow in the winter on the mountains, we can give you lakes, we can give you downtowns, big downtowns, small downtowns, little cities, agriculture, everything you need. What we're lacking, our one leg that's smaller than the other two, is crew.
Crew.
Now, we have a crew base of about 150 to 200, but the experience level of that crew base is less than, for instance, LA. But our pitch to Hollywood is, I'll give you an example. We had a Toyota truck commercial that not only did the TV commercial here a couple years ago, but they also did the billboards. They were all over Fresno County. Well, when they said, yeah, it's a union job, we're bringing our crew up, blah, blah, blah. And I said, how big's your crew? And they said, it's going to be about 85. I said, go to my website and look at my crew list. I said, bring your top 50 up and hire your bottom 35 from Fresno. A, they're quality people that can do the job. B, you're going to save money because you're not going to have to pay for lodging for those 35. C, it generates more money into my community by hiring my local people. And the funny thing about that is, if they have a budget for lodging of $50,000 and they hire less people and they save $10,000, that doesn't make the cost of the commercial cheaper. They take the $10,000 and put it into catering. So everybody eats better.
So we all eat good.
Because the budget's already set. And nobody's going to give any money back. So that's our slightly less, and our film crew and cast is growing and growing and getting better and better, and they do wonderful work here, and we do our best to get them hired for the for the crews that come in, for the shoots that come in.
We have a lot of dedicated people working crews here in the Valley, and I can tell you the volunteer crew that is a part of this production, they're here week in and week out. They're here for hours. So for any production company that wants to do a movie or commercial here, I can tell you that we have some great people and they're very dedicated.
Absolutely.
I mean, just look here in the studio on San Joaquin Spotlight with some of our crew members. You know,
and this, if I can interrupt you, this is a great training ground because I know some of the people who are getting trained through CMAC are taking that training and then going out and working on independent films and local music videos and things like that to get the professional experience so that when a crew comes in town, they can give them a resume. They can say, I've had, I've got 3 credits in commercial production. It's great.
Which comes in handy.
Absolutely.
Do we have stars, celebrities, the Spielberg type directors and producers? Do we have people like that coming in and out of town? I mean, a lot like you weren't able to tell us when Harrison Ford came to town.
Yeah.
So it makes me think, you know what? What if there are more celebrities coming in and out of town that we don't know about? Adam Sandler was said to be here recently. Oprah was said to be here recently. So you, from your perspective, you tell us.
Well, the Film Commission, just like everybody else, tends to find out after the fact because if Adam Sandler, who by the way is the coolest, nicest guy, I worked on him with a movie called Bulletproof back in the '90s. Really nice guy. Damon Wayans, not so much. But my point is that if Adam Sandler and his production company is in the pre-production stage and he's personally going out to look for locations, he's not going to call up the Film Commission. He wants to see it first and he doesn't want to hear the sales pitch. Now, when it gets past that, then he or his executive producer or his location manager then he may say, okay, I've got a couple ideas, but I want to see what the other possibilities are. And then you'll get the call that says, Adam's looking for this.
Are there times where we as Fresnans can mess that up? Let's say Adam Sandler is here at the mall and he gets bombarded by people. Will that mess things up?
I don't think so. When Oprah was here a couple years ago, I can't remember the production that she was doing, but she was doing some production and she stopped in a couple places. And, literally it was, Oprah's here, Oprah's here. Well, she was already out of town before anybody said, where's Oprah now? So it's pretty much, guerrilla scouting, if not guerrilla filmmaking. If we have time, I'll tell you another quick funny story.
Sure, go ahead.
Back in Ridgecrest, you remember a few years ago there was, I can't remember the name of the movie, I Am Legend with Will Smith.
Yes.
Well, several years before that, I Am Legend was in pre-production to be directed by Sir Ridley Scott, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. This was prior to his governorship. Co-starring Demi Moore.
Interesting.
Now, the location manager, again, another friend of mine, Jim McCabe, calls me up. He says, this is what we need, and we're going to look at this and this and this. We'll be arriving on a private plane at Inyukurun Airport at 7 o'clock. It's just going to be Ridley Scott, the director of photography, and myself. We want you to take us around to the different locations. This is what we're looking for. You can't tell anybody. You can't tell your wife. Nobody. Fine, okay. And my wife would be like, yeah, okay, Schwarzenegger, I don't care. So they show up, and Jim McCabe says, Ridley, this is Ray Arthur, the film commissioner. I said, Mr. Scott, it's a pleasure to meet you. Ridley Scott said, that was all Ridley had to say. But we went around. Now, here's the fun thing. Lips are sealed, secret, secret, secret. Every time they walked into a store, because they're looking for a storefront that they can put sugar glass in so that Schwarzenegger can fight with somebody and throw him through the glass. Every store that they walk into, Ridley walks into one store, the director of photography walks into another one, and the director of photography's name is Pierre. Now, I want you to be the store owner. He walks into the store and says, how do you do? I am Pierre. I am the director of photography for the new Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
Oh, so he gave it away.
Yeah. I was with them until 2 o'clock. When I got back to my office at 2:30, I had 6 messages. Now, in 24 hours, there were 50 people who saw Arnold Schwarzenegger. There were 20 people who saw Bruce Willis, because Demi Moore was the co-star. And there were 5 people that saw the KNBC Channel 4 helicopter land on the house that Arnold and his wife had rented because his wife then was working.
Oh.
None of them were there. None of them were there.
Incredible.
But the story was great. And
Well,
it went all around town.
We're out of time this week on the program. I mean, we got to have you back because you have a ton of stories for us
I
to
would
share.
love to. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. That's all for this edition of San Joaquin Spotlight. Our guest this week has been Ray Arthur, Film Commissioner. Thank you to the volunteer crew that made this and every production possible. Thank you to you for listening to us on KFSR 90.7 FM and for those of you watching on CMAC. I'm your host, Sevag Tateosian. Tune in next week for a new edition.